Professor Davis here with one last orientation video, and I just wanted to talk for a little bit about some of the different learning styles you can use for this course. I'm going to talk about two of them, and to get things started out, let's just kind of go to a section that we'd all know about from our prerequisites. I'll go ahead and hit the modules button on the left-hand side. Remember, we have the course broken down into modules here that are usually about 3 sections each, and I want to go to the very first folder here for chapter 1, and in module 2 we see section 1.4 on quadratic equations. So let's go ahead and open up the ebook on that. I opened up first the folder. Now notice it has 3 things written here. It has the ebook. We'll talk about that in just a second. It has the reading assessment homework. Now notice if I click on that, that brings us to our corresponding online homework assignments. So if you finish the section and you're ready to do those, you can link right there. And then you have these practice exercises. Now I'll talk about those more in depth in just a minute. These are kind of the homework exercises you'd see at the end of each section in any math book. So we'll get to those more in a minute. But now let's go to the ebook here. And I want to show you the first of these learning styles. I call this the classroom style. Think of this as the way that you'd kind of simulate the classroom the most. So here we are in section 1.4. Now notice each section begins with this screen of requisite material, so to speak. Stuff you should know going into this. And notice the 4 things here we want to know. First, simplifying radicals. If you're not sure, if you don't quite remember how to do that, that's in section review, section 3. So chapter review, part 3. You can also just try one here, and let me just show you what I mean by that. You can just go ahead and try to put in one of these where we simplify this expression, the square root of 90. Let's see, that's 9 times 10, right? Square root of 9 is 3, so the answer here is 3 times the square root of 10, so I'll put in a 3. I'll click on square root, and I'll put in 10. So notice over here, on the left side, we have this math palette. I'll go ahead and check my answer here, and it looks like we got that one. So you want to practice that math palette, and that's a good way to make sure you're ready for a section, is to go to those little you try it's. That's the first screen of every single section. Now notice if I go to the second screen, the objectives for the section are listed. Here there's 5 of them. So what you can do is just go down through here one by one. First one is solving quadratic equations using the zero product property. So you kind of want to follow along, take notes on what the zero product property is, and over here you'll see a gold icon that looks like a piece of film. That's for our video. So let's take a look at that for a minute. These are all done by Kirk Trigstead. Kirk is a professor at the University of Idaho. He's taken these videos, and think of like one section that's really, you'd have in 50 minutes in a class, crunched down into about 15 or 20 minutes. They're very well organized and go very quickly. There's also captions underneath. If you're not quite sure what's being said, you can follow along there. And so you can go through and take notes. And this is just kind of like you're in the classroom here. So you'd want to go through each page, try some of these problems now. Here's an example of the zero product property. Go to one of these you try it icons, click on that, and then try it yourself. Alright, where you solve one of these problems by factoring. And then when you get to the end of the section, notice if you look in the class handouts area, I have this list of practice exercises. Now in section 1.4, I said you ought to try problems 1 through 29 odd in that section. So let's go to that real quick here. That's under practice exercises. And notice here we have problems in section 1.4, 1 through 30. I assigned all of the odd ones there. So you can just start with number 1. And number 1 is solve the equation by factoring, and that really uses the zero product property. So you can go through these, and here's how you can get help with them. If you see the little key over here, this has helped me solve this. If you click on that, they'll go through step by step on how to solve the problem, where you complete the steps. They guide you in the right direction, and you can go ahead and fill them out and learn how to do each of these objectives. So that is the classroom style. Now, the second way I want to talk about on completing each section is what I call the learning objective style. Let's go back to the beginning here. Now I can navigate back to the beginning of section 1.4 by just pulling down the table of contents on the left-hand side, going to section 1.4, and that gets me right back to the page here where we started with our review topics. I can flip the page, like I said before, with these arrows up in the upper left corner of the screen. So what you can do is kind of look through these. You can say, well, I know how to do some of this stuff. Maybe I need to review solving quadratic equations by completing the square. So you can go right here, go directly to the You Try It, and then try to do the problem. So what you can do is to, if you have trouble with it, you can go to the Help Me Solve This, View as an Example, where you can go through it step by step, and the equation is actually solved for you. So you can see how it's done and then practice one later on. And you can also print these out if you want a hard copy and you want to practice with that. So that idea of just kind of going problem by problem, getting the ones you need to get done, kind of working backwards, so to speak, I call that the learning objective style. So that's really two ways you can go about tackling each section of the course. So that concludes your orientation for college algebra. So you have everything you need to know, so you can go ahead and get started with your coursework now.